This video is brought to you by Grandeur Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country.
This Mazda CX-70 plug-in hybrid has two powertrains, gas and electric. Now, some people online say that it's the worst of both worlds. In this video, we're gonna find out, is that true? Well, here's where those people are coming from. A lot of people say plug-in hybrids are bad electric cars because they're inefficient. You end up dragging around the gasoline engine when you're driving around on the electric motor. And then those people also say they're bad gasoline cars because when the battery is largely depleted, you're just dragging along a lot of dead weight. So that's that, right? Just get the gasoline Mazda and call it a day. Well, not so fast. This Mazda can do 26 miles on electricity alone before the gasoline engine is forced to kick on. So I'm gonna try to drive this Mazda from the office back to my house, and I'm sure I can make it with no problem, about 20 miles.
I don't think so. Did you say 26 miles is what it can do?
26, Mary.
Yeah, and where did you learn that information?
Well, it was on the paper.
Which never lies.
The paper never lies. No, Mary, I understand your skepticism because Mary drives the worst EV in the world, a Nissan Leaf, but aren't you more confident the Mazda can do better than your car?
I think the paper always lies.
The paper always lies.
I think you have to get into real life, into some really dicey situations before you can really confidently say how far something can go on electricity.
All right, we're gonna get 20 miles into some dicey situations and see what happens.
Let's do it.
Now this is a valid real-world test, a 23-mile commute from my office back to my house over a mix of highway, city, and country driving. Now the car is just about fully charged, maybe 2 or 3% off of full. Just pulled it off the charger, and 23 miles, pretty typical commute. Let's see if we can do it. What is it like driving the Mazda CX-70 in the EV mode? Well, it's a little bit unconventional. You see, this car has 173 all-electric horsepower. So in the EV mode, it feels pretty slow. It is not a very quick accelerating car until you push the throttle pedal all the way to the floor, and then the gasoline engine will kick on and give you that acceleration you need. Now, I don't think it's necessarily underpowered. I think for typical everyday city driving, this is plenty of acceleration. But the other weird thing it does, which is a little bit unconventional, is because the electric motor is sandwiched between the engine and the transmission, you can actually feel it shift gears, which is a little different if you're used to driving a conventional single-speed electric car. So, little different. Is it a detriment? It's a little weird for me because I do drive a lot of EVs. I think your typical person coming out of a gas car isn't really going to care. And then the only other thing which is worth noting is when that gasoline engine does kick on, it does have to stay on for a little bit to actually get some heat into it for emissions reasons before it'll shut off again. Overall though, it's very quiet, it's very smooth. There doesn't seem to be any kind of speed limit. We're going down the highway. It's not trying to like kick me into gasoline, so I'm pretty impressed with that. I am a little suspect about the range though, because we are depleting a lot of electricity, even on a slow speed highway at about 55 or 60 miles an hour. Boy, does this interior support Mazda's luxurious claims. This is a really nice place to spend time. Let's start with the seats. We got these black Napa leather seats with the brown accents down the middle and across the stitching. I think that's kind of an interesting look. We've got the padded dash with more contrasting features, including a little bit of bright work, which I think looks great. The main screen here is a 12.3-inch display, pretty easy to use. And you might notice it is not a touch screen, so you do have to use this little knob. Now, I have criticized this technology in the past, but what I'm finding, the more I use it, the more straightforward it is. And if you really hate it, you can just stick it on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and leave it be. I do love that Mazda gives us some physical controls for the heated seats, the ventilated seats, and the heated steering wheel. That is a big win in my book. We've got our drive controller down here, which allows us to go from sport, normal, EV, and off-road modes. And then we can use this button here to actually charge up the battery when the power runs out using the gasoline engine. Kind of an interesting feature here. This is going to be your command center for everything related to the infotainment. Definitely an interesting finish here. And then coming over to the driver's side, we have this nice leather wrapped steering wheel, which feels great to hand. We've got a large digital instrument cluster with all the gauges you need, and even a pretty decent heads-up display. But what I'm really impressed with, the fit and finish in here is top notch. There are still a couple of areas where, there's some cheap materials, but all the touch points you interact with feel great, and there are no squeaks, rattles, nothing like that. So Mary is our in-house design expert. And Mary, now when I was a kid, story time, I one time went to church and I wore my black pants and my brown shoes and my black belt. And my mom said, don't wear black with brown. But look at those seats, Mary. It's black on brown.
It is black on brown, but it's not a dark brown. I think your mom was probably worried about dark brown with black.
So are we good with the light brown on the black?
Yeah, I don't love where they placed the light brown. I feel like it would have looked better as like an edge situation, a perimeter situation.
Okay.
But it's the coloring. It does not make me upset. I'm not like filled with rage due to the color.
Now, what about that material there in the middle?
This kind of like.
Well, how would you describe that?
Fishnet chic.
Fishnet chic.
Yeah.
Do we like the fishnet chic?
It's a little overwhelming to the eye. If you're scared of like pointillism, that might freak you out a little bit, but it does look kind of classy, I gotta say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
I think it looks pretty good. I think it's trying to look like sporty, but this is kind of like a mom car, you know?
Are you saying moms can't be sporty?
You know what? I'm just gonna leave right now. No, you're right. This is the sporty mom car for the performance moms out there.
For the moms who are actually on a soccer team, not just driving their kids to soccer.
You got it. Well, I don't think I'm gonna quite make it home on electricity. So we've gone about 19 miles now. The car is saying 1 mile of electricity remaining. And I think we're gonna run out a few miles short of home. So we're still in EV mode at 19.1 miles. Car is displaying 1 mile of range left. There you can see some of that information. It has 2 gauges, which is kind of cool. One for fuel, one for electricity. And let's see if that swap over happens pretty soon. Still on EV. Look, there are some weird tuning things about this car on electric mode. Like sometimes it lets you go to full throttle when you're cruising around in EV without kicking on the gas engine. Sometimes it doesn't. It's a little kind of sporadic with that, and I think it could spend some more time in the oven getting a lot of those things just perfectly ironed out. However, this could mean a lot of gas savings. If your commute is, 5-10 miles each direction, and you have a place to plug in it at home, this could be a really good solution to just, we're off EV. There we go, 19.7 miles. So not quite the 26 that it was supposed to be, but it is very cold out, pretty cold outside. It's 38 degrees Fahrenheit. I do have the climate set to 38 degrees Fahrenheit auto, so that's going to impact range. And like I said, we were probably 2 or 3% down when we started because it hadn't quite filled up at the office, but around 20 miles in the winter is about what you can expect in this Mazda, at least under my driving conditions. Let's talk about how the CX-70 hybrid drives on gasoline. Put my foot down, a little bit of a delay, transmission downshifts. All right, not bad actually. It's pretty fun in gasoline mode, certainly a lot quicker. Now, if you want the most engaging Mazda CX-70, you gotta get that inline 6-cylinder turbo. It makes a ton of low-end torque, it sounds really cool, and it's just a lot more fun than this plug-in hybrid. But this car is very adequate to drive. The steering is good, and the suspension is beautifully tuned. So, Mary, big question. Did I make it to the ranch on electricity alone?
I don't know. Did you tell me?
I did not. But how many miles do you think I made?
19?
19.7. Wow.
Oh!
She's a wizard, Harry. Now, Mary, the question is, Is that enough miles on electricity? Would you be satisfied with that?
Would I be satisfied with 19 miles?
Yeah, before the gas engine turns on.
No.
You would not be.
I feel like I need a little more. You know why?
Why?
I don't like being lied to.
You don't like being lied to. Oh my God, that's so dramatic.
If I'm told I'm gonna get 26 miles, then I'm gonna bank on 26 miles. If I can only make it 19.
But it's cold, and it's frosty, and we had the AC going, and we were listening to our tunes, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary says 19.7, not enough. Now the average American drives about 40 miles every day, so you can do half your commute if you're a typical American. But I do agree with Mary, for one time in my life, I think a plug-in hybrid needs to go at least 40 miles on electricity only before the gas engine kicks on. What's your number? What's your ideal number?
You know what? I'm gonna join on the train of agreeing with you for the first time in our lives. Wow. 40 is about where I would land as well.
We can also agree on one other thing. Did you like the musical Wicked?
I loved Wicked.
I also loved Wicked.
Yeah.
There we go. Miles driven on electricity and performance in Wicked.
Oh, okay.
What's her name?
I thought you were about to do the.
Now the biggest surprise, second biggest surprise for me in this car is the rear seat, which is huge. It's positively enormous. This is my driving position at 6 feet tall, or 6'3" if you read my dating profile. Red, I'm married. But this is amazing. It's really cool how much room you have for your legs. The headroom is just adequate enough for taller passengers. Now there is a big center hump, so center passengers do have to sacrifice a little bit. But look at this. We got heated rear seats back here. We got 2 USB-Cs. This is another climate zone. So it's a very comfortable, functional rear seat that's surprisingly spacious. One of the things that Mary is most infamous for at the office is the collection inside her car. So she has a beach ball.
I have a karaoke microphone. I always have an overnight bag in there. You never know when you might need one. I have a security kit.
She's got oil.
I have oil. I used to have wires. Somebody stole them.
So here's the thing. If you want to join Mary for the weirdest beach ball party in the world, be sure to DM her. But the reason I think Mary's gonna be excited about this, don't DM Mary. The reason I think Mary's gonna like this car is because of for all the room for her things. Mary, look how big it is!
Oh, wow!
Easily 16 beach balls. And check this out.
It's like full extension up in here.
Yeah, you could easily come in here, you could take a little nap. You know, look at that.
No, that's insane.
That's amazing. And then, I think...
You could do yoga back here.
Just keep scooting, I'm gonna open this up. We need you in, there you go.
Oh my God.
You are gonna find your charger in here, which is included, just a little level 1 guy, and then, you know, some very, very, very basic, no spare tire, but some very basic things here. There is an interesting thing about this car, Mary. This car is actually its bigger cousin without the rear seats. So there's a car called the CX-90, which has 3 rows. The CX-70 is that same car with 2.
That's like a Bonnie and Clyde car. You kill someone, you throw them in the back, and you're out of there.
The question is, though, wouldn't you just rather get the one that's the same size but with more seats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
A little bit.
A little better.
A little better.
Yeah.
There is a downside to all this space and luxury and hybridness, and that is the price. So this CX-70 Premium Plus in rhodium white is $59,420, so nearly 60 grand for a Mazda SUV. Now granted, it's a very nice car, it's got a lot of luxury and capability, but knocking on the door of 60K, that's a lot of money.
Say 59,000?
59 grand, Mary! Her smile has disappeared so quickly.
That's not...
Too much, huh?
It's too much.
So I'm just saying, it's too much.
That's a little too much. That's a downside for sure.
Yeah, that's a big downside. And it doesn't qualify for any federal tax credit either if you buy it because it's not made in the US. All right, so we're gonna see how long it takes to recharge this Mazda CX-70 plug-in hybrid. We're gonna use the onboard computer. Now we're gonna start with the included level 1 connector. It's plugged into a 110 volt outlet. Car is out of juice. Let's see how long it takes to charge. So charging up from your standard 110 volt outlet from 8% to full, the CX-70 will take about 9 hours and 40 minutes, which sounds like a long time, but relative to a full electric vehicle, which can take days to fully charge on 110 volts, it's not actually all that bad. Let's see if you jump it up to 240. This is a 240 volt level 2 connector. This is rated at 40 amps. And we're gonna go ahead and plug in the Mazda. Light should go green here. And let's see how long it takes to charge. Well, that's a lot faster. 2 hours flat to fully charge the Mazda on level 2. Now, look, here's the deal. 17.8 kilowatt hour battery. You can't go very far on electricity only, but the plus side is if you have a 240 volt charger, you can refill pretty darn quick.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
How much is it to install a 240 volt charger?
Wow, Mary, great question. That is very valid. So it depends on your situation. So let's come on over here. This is a pretty standard unit. It's hardwired into the house. Now this installation typically costs between $500 and $1,000, and the chargers themselves can be anywhere from, a couple $100 all the way up to $1,000. So that's a cost you have to keep in mind. But the nice thing about these plug-in hybrids is if you just plug them into a standard outlet overnight, you'll be fully charged. Whereas with your car here, the Nissan Leaf, if you plug her in overnight, you don't get full charge on level 1, right?
No, you get like 20% after 8 hours.
Yeah, which is definitely a bummer.
It is.
So the Mazda CX-70 plug-in hybrid, should you get this version over the gasoline CX-70? Now, 20-ish miles of range isn't a lot, but if you drive this thing on electricity around town, in the long term, you could save a significant amount of money. Big asterisk. This car only makes sense if you have a place to regularly plug it in at home. If you are relying on public infrastructure to keep your car charged, just get the gas one. But if you can regularly get home at night, plug it into a wall, and then be ready to go the next morning, it does make sense. It's not as fun to drive as the turbo model, but it's still plenty fun, and I think this is the one I would go for if I had a place to plug in it at home, and if I actually did it. So all you guys out there that aren't plugging in your PHEVs, why? Because you're losing out on so much money. Folks, let me know what you think in the comment section below. A huge thank you to Mary and Gavin. We'll see you next time. Head over to alltfl.com.